Okay, in our new CS4 video series, we're basically going to look at Photoshop and start over at the very beginning again, only this time we're going to go through and we're going to be using the new Photoshop CS4. So as we go through, I'll be pointing out some of the various new features. So I've just installed the new Photoshop. So I'm going to open it up for the first time, double click on the icon. Those of you who are familiar with previous versions of Photoshop will notice a slight difference here. We have some more options up here. Everything's just a little more square looking. For those of you who this might be their first Photoshop experience, don't panic because we will basically break down all these busy looking panels and menus and tools into basically more manageable size chunks. So we'll break this workspace into three main sections. We have the top, the application menu, and the tool options underneath. Along the left side, we have our toolbar. And along the right side, we have our various panels, like our layers panel and the new adjustments and mask panels, both of which are new to CS4. And in this first video, we're going to basically create our first PSD file. PSD being short for Photoshop document, and basically it's a file format that supports layers. So we're basically going to create a document that's going to have about 3 different layers. So we're going to go up to the application menu, File, and down to New. This is going to bring up the New Document dialog. You can name this Hello-World. We're going to be using a width of 12. We're going to be using inches. Yours is currently not set to inches. You can simply bring down the drop down and set that to inches. The height is going to be 9, and we're going to make sort of a medium size resolution here at 150 just for the sake of this educational exercise, really. So hit OK. And we have our new document. Now, those of you who are not new to Photoshop, you might notice that one of the new things about Photoshop CS4 is that the documents open up in a new tabbed window. So they're sort of docked inside of Photoshop, and if we had multiple documents open, they'd be open up in tabs. So let's open our second image now. So back to the application menu and the file menu. And this time instead of new, we're going to open a pre-existing image, and we're going to open up the image that says sample image. Open that up, and as you can see, it's now docked inside this main window, and they are tabbed. So you can simply click on the tab of our previous blank Hello World document or our sample image. At this point, we're going to drag and drop this image onto our blank canvas. So we're going to undock this sample image from this main window here. To do that, all you need to do is simply click and grab hold of the tab here and just pull it away. And as you can see, I've now pulled this and it is no longer docked to this main window here. So now we're going to use our very first tool. The very first tool on the left is the Move tool. And notice as I select the Move tool, the options up at the top in these tool options change. And it'll be like that for every single tool that you select. You'll get different options up here at the top. So as I said, we're basically going to drag this image onto the blank canvas. Now incidentally, this sample image is a 6:9 at 150 dpi. And you can actually find that out by going up to Image, the Image menu, and down to Image Size, which will bring up the image size dialog. You can see our document size is 9:6 at 150 pixels per inch. So it's going to be a little smaller. So as we drag it in, we're going to hold the Shift key with our Move tool, click inside of our sample image, and drag it on top of the white blank document. Then you can basically close the sample image as we don't need it anymore. And you can see since we held Shift as we dragged it over, we basically dropped it right square in the center of our new blank document. Notice down here in our layers, we have our background, which was our original blank white document, and we now have a layer called layer 1, which is our image layer. So now we'll add one more layer to our PSD. We're going to add a text layer. So now we're going to use our second tool, the Type tool, which is this T right here on the left-hand side in the toolbar. Notice again the different options that appear for the Type tool up at the top, and we're going to change some of those options now. So right here under the font, just going to use something like Times New Roman, and we'll set the style to bold. We're going to set our point size to 30, and we're going to set the justification here to center. So it's going to center our text, and then we're going to keep the color black. So right here in the middle of the document, roughly underneath our image, simply click once. That's going to bring up the blinking cursor, telling us that we can now enter in some text. So enter in "Hello World." Once you're done, up here in the top in the tool options, there's a check. Simply click that, and that will commit the text. And notice down here we now have a document with 3 different layers: a text layer, our image layer, and our original background. So what we want to do now is save this. So go to File, down to Save. It's going to ask you where you want to save it. Just navigate to the place or the folder that you want to save it to on your hard drive. And we've already named it Hello World when we created the new document. Right here under Format, it's set to Photoshop or PSD. If it's not, you can simply bring down the drop-down list and choose Photoshop PSD. This is going to save it in layers so we can go back and edit it later on. Click Save. Click OK. This little dialog here just maximizes compatibility with the earlier versions of Photoshop. So just click OK, and we have now created our first PSD, or our first layered document.